Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina. This is Lifting Pins and Needles, a channel all about sewing. If you've been enjoying my videos and the content and the sewing tips and things, please subscribe to the channel, tap on the subscribe, tap on the bell so you get notified and you never miss when I upload a video, so you don't miss all the tips and all the tricks. Today I have another video in my Pinned into Reality series. I have done quite a few of these over the years where I take inspiration from something I saw on Pinterest and attempt to recreate, not recreate as such, but get a lot of inspiration from there. And sometimes it can be a bit tricky and I have to do a lot of steps. The last project I did of this type was the Melody top that I hacked into a really cool asymmetric stripy crazy dress. Well, it doesn't always have to be that hard. It can actually be quite easy sometimes, and this is the case for this one. Now, this is a knit project. Whenever I show you a garment that is made out of knit fabric, I feel like I'm cheating, like it's just too easy compared to the other things I'm used to showing you. But sometimes the easy projects need to get in there, especially when you've been making challenging ones like I've been making recently. If you've watched my last video, if you haven't, go watch. I'm not going to say anything else. The pattern I want to show you today is a Feature Friday pattern from Love Notions. Now, some Fridays out of the month, they choose a pattern that is featured and is 50% off. So that is the pattern today. It's only $5 if you purchase today on Friday. This is a Ravinia skirt, and I'm going to put some line out here so you can see. This is a skirt designed to be made with knit fabric. It has different length options, knee, calf and maxi. The main feature of this skirt are the pockets. They have a gathered feature there with some binding. I think it's really neat. The skirt is not full, it's like an A-line skirt. And for the waistband, there are 3 options available: a contoured waistband, a yoga waistband, and even a maternity option, like a longer waistband to cover the bump. The fabrics recommended are light to medium weight knits like modal, Rayon Spandex, brushed poly, ITY, and this knit has to have 25 to 50% horizontal stretch for this design to work. The sizing comes from extra small to triple extra large with body measurements of waist of 26.5 inches to 41.5 inches and hips 35.5 inches to 51.5 inches. You're meant to choose your size based on your hips, and if you're between sizes, you're meant to choose the smaller. That is my case. My hips are 44, the large has a hip of 43, but then extra large has a hip of 46. So I'm closer to the large than to the extra large, so I chose the large. This pattern is drafted for 5'5" height woman, and the 3 lengths vary. So the knee length is at 23.5 inches of length. Then there's the midi length or calf length at 31 inches, and then the maxi goes to 40 inches. I needed to add length to the maxi to make it really maxi for me, or else it would just hit at a really awkward length. I'm 5'8", so there's that height difference that I always need to account for. I'm always looking at that detail when I look at pattern companies. What height woman do they draft for? Because my length is in the legs, you know, so I usually need to add on a substantial amount there. So what is my inspiration? I am a viewer of a show called Elementary. It's about, you know, Sherlock Holmes, and the character Joan Watson is played by Lucy Liu, and I love the way this character dresses in the show. And she wore these culottes once. I'll put a picture here. They are crazy. And these are Stella McCartney, and they use like a zigzag print on one side that is going vertically, the zigzags like that crazy. And then the other side has just horizontal stripes. And that is nuts. I mean, I wouldn't wear that, but just the idea sticks in your brain. And then there's the normal inspiration you get from like clothing that you would actually wear. And that is what I'm going to show you in the Up Close and So Personal. I'm going to show you my real inspiration picture in there. In this segment, I'm going to focus mainly on the pocket construction and waistband, little bit on the hem, just an overall view of the skirt pattern, and then I'll be back to show you.
Don't you think this is starting to wear me?
Here is a little line art of the skirt. I'm making the maxi version, and what you're going to see is me lengthening that skirt even more, an overview of the pattern pieces, small changes just for visual purposes. I'm going to focus mainly on the pocket construction, the waistband, and I'm also going to show you a little bit of the hemming process. So let's start by looking at these pattern pieces. They are huge. I'm going to film them on the floor. I'm going to show you how I lengthen them and what I'm going to do to change them to get the look I want. I've been looking at this style of skirt. It's swishy, it's maxi, it's not a full skirt, it's stripy, very similar to the Ravinia, only that this one has a center seam there in the front, and they've played with chevrons. I don't necessarily want to play with chevrons and put my fabric on the bias, so this is just an inspiration picture. I will play with stripes. These are the pattern pieces, the front and the back, and they're meant to be cut on the fold, but because I want to play with the direction of the stripes, I'm going to cut mine and leave a centimeter of seam allowance here, of 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, so I can unite these and create seams in the center. And that is the only small modification I'm going to do. Also, these pockets. This pocket is the one that goes behind here, and I'm going to play with the direction of that to contrast what I'm doing with the skirt. So lots of fun. These are the two pattern pieces. I've got both sides there that are the straight part that is cut on the fold. This is the front, that is the back. The back is narrower than the front. They have 3 cut lines, a knee one, a calf one, and the maxi. There is a lengthen and shorten line around sort of hip level that I cut and spread and added 2 inches to make the maxi version quite maxi for my height. So that is the only pattern modification I've done. This is the front pattern piece on the top, so you can see this little shape there, and this is going to be the pocket opening that is going to have gathering. There are 2 notch marks there. I've marked them in blue so you can see, and you're going to do a gathering stitch there and gather that. And this is the pocket. So you can see the shape is quite smaller than this. So once this is gathered, you need this to match this shape. And this goes actually on the back there. And when these are together, you baste them together and then you do binding on this edge. Once that step is done, then you have the pocket bag that goes on the back and completes this hip area for the skirt. This is going to be all gathered and bunched up, you know, but these 2 match. The one that's going to be sewn onto the skirt and the one that goes behind it, they are actually the same size and shape and everything. And that is how this area is going to be done of the skirt. It's the main feature of the skirt basically. The rest is just side seams and then the waistband. There's 2 waistband options. These 2 on the tops are for the contoured waistband. They're both to be cut twice and on the fold. One for the inner one for the outer. So 2 of each of these on the fold. And then if you don't want the contoured waistband, there is also a yoga waistband, which is much easier, and you just cut 1 of these on the fold. And this is just sort of folded like this. This is really good for the more rectangular body types or apple, where there's not much difference between the waist and the hips. I think this is perfect and much easier to do. When there's more difference between the waist and the hips, say an hourglass or a pear shape, I think this contoured waistband gives a better fit.
You've been rated down like hell.
Here I have the actual top part of the skirt on one of the sides. You can see that shape there. I have marked with yellow chalk the 2 notches, the marks, the guidelines for me to gather this. Once that is gathered, I've got my pocket piece. It has that different shape, and this is going to go behind it, gathered and match that curve. And now for the binding, the instructions tell you what length of strips to cut. So they are all 1.5 inches wide. You need 2 of them, and the length just varies with the size that you're making. So these are the binding that goes there on that curve, but I'll show you all this at the sewing machine. I've gathered the area between the 2 notches there. The gathering is quite intense in that area, and now I can match the pocket piece that I've pinned on the back, as you can see there. These are wrong sides together, and I've put pins all the way around. Now I'm going to do a basting stitch there. This I take slowly. It's quite bulky to go over all those gathers, so I'm just taking my time and doing this basting stitch. Once this basting stitch is done, I have folded the binding pieces wrong sides together, and I've pinned them onto the other side of the skirt. So on the inside, this, you can see the pocket in there. So I'm going to do something I'm going to call reverse binding. I'm going to sew that with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then I'm going to bring this binding towards the outer side of the skirt, to the right side of the skirt there. I think this is going to give a neat, clean finish on the inside of the pocket and on the outside of the pocket. So I'm going to go ahead and use my 1/4 inch foot to keep my sewing straight. And this actually looks like I'm repeating the same step as the basting stitch, but I'm actually sewing the binding that is on the other side, on the bottom. So quite bulky. Take my time to go over all those gathers. And then when I'm finished there, I'm going to show you on the other side, the way I place this binding is going to make it just plain blue there. I'm going to trim this excess seam allowance to make it really small, like 1/8 of an inch or something. And then I'm going to bring this binding towards the visible part of the skirt, and you can see it's plain navy. And I wanted it like that to make contrast with all the stripy craziness I've got going on with this skirt. The just plain blue looks really nice as the binding on this pocket. I go over all that gathering again, pinned it, and now I'm going to top stitch that down. I'm just using a normal straight stitch. This area doesn't need to stretch or anything, so I'm just taking my time and doing this top stitching there of the binding. It's going to look really nice and neat. I really like it how it looks like this. There's also an option to add piping, but this is enough for what I want. See, on the inside of the pocket it's really clean, and on the outside it looks really nice as well. Now I've put the pocket bag behind that, and I've pinned it with the pocket, and now magically it's all going to be sewn and serged right now. So that pocket has been done, and now I have to match it up to the skirt piece, and the hip area is going to be complete. You can see all my pockets being assembled, and it's been pinned to the top of the skirt and to the side on the hip. You can see where that pocket is at the back there, and now I just have to do some basting stitches to hold it in place, do the other side, and this area will be done. You can see how I've made the pocket bag with the stripes going down to contrast the horizontal stripes there. Now let's have a look at this contoured waistband I've decided to sew. This is my waistband. I have 2 layers of the waistband. This is the front that is shorter than the back, and you can see I've sewn the seam and pressed it open. This is the only seam of the whole pattern I've done with a zigzag stitch. All the rest I've just done with a straight stitch because there is ease everywhere, but this actually does need to stretch. So I've got 2 layers in there, right sides together, and I've pinned all the way around the top part of the waistband. This is a contoured waistband, and you can see the shape of it. It's like that. So this bottom bit is the one that's going to go attached to the skirt. Now on the top here, I have some elastic. I'm going to sew this elastic closed into a circle, and I'm going to go stretching it out as I sew it onto the edge there with the overlocker. Once I have that elastic sewn onto the raw edge of the waistband there, like that, I'm going to do a seam under there. So I'm not going to catch the elastic with that seam, so the seam's going to be a bit below that, and then I'm going to flip it, and then when it's wrong sides together like that, then that is what I'm going to sew onto the skirt. I have corded my elastic to the waistband, and I've got 4 pins that I'm pointing out there. This is what I have to go stretching out as I sew this elastic onto that raw edge of the waistband with my super serger. I'm not going to show you how I do that because it vibrates, but there it's done. The elastic has been attached to the top of the waistband there. It's all very neat, slightly gathered, and this is going to help the skirt stay up. So now I'm gonna go to the machine and with a zigzag stitch do a seam just below that elastic. I'm not actually catching it, and this will keep the waistband in place. Then I flip it and just attach it onto the top of the skirt. Very easy, not much to it, and it's gonna give a good fit. Now this zigzag stitch is important because it's gonna stretch with that elastic there. So just keep going all the way around. Now as bonus clip, I'm gonna show you how I'm hemming with a twin needle. For this skirt, it has a huge hem, sort of rounded. I have pressed my seam prior to sewing, just about 1/2 inch, and I'm using my twin needle and I'm guiding myself on the side with the presser foot there, and so I can go straight. You can see the presser foot is on the edge of the fabric, and when I get to a seam, I just slow down. I use a 3.5 stitch length for twin needle and get a good result. As a disclaimer, usually these videos where I show sewing, I'm not actually following pattern instructions sometimes. For the binding of the pocket, I used another method. You can use many methods to do the binding on the pockets. This is just what I felt was what I wanted to do in this opportunity, you know? So that's what I did. In up close and so personal, I tried very hard not to show you the full skirt because I wanted to leave it as a surprise. You saw my inspiration photo. I said I wasn't going to do something exactly like that. I really didn't want to place my pattern pieces on the bias with this Rayon Spandex. So I did something way easier that still has a really nice visual impact, and it's sort of like what I wanted anyway, you know? So without further ado, here is my skirt. I have navy with white stripes. So there you can see my contoured waistband on the top. The elastic is inside there. Now actually when I sewed the waistband onto the skirt, I did use a zigzag stitch. So the only areas of construction for this skirt that I actually used a zigzag stitch was for the waistband areas. As I said before, my serger is a 3-thread industrial that only finishes seams. It does not have the strength to actually sew with. So I can't just like overlock and that's it. I have to actually sew with my sewing machine with a zigzag stitch and then serge to finish the edges. So just putting that out there. All the rest of the skirt I did with a straight stitch. And all I did was create an extra seam in the middle, add 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and cut half of the skirt vertical and the other half horizontal. That meant that on the sides I had to match stripes there. I'm getting dizzy just looking at these on the screen there, but I did manage to match them all on this side here. On the other side they also match there. I also matched the stripes there on the waistband going down. There is my pocket that you saw me do and my reverse binding that I did. So it's really nice and clean inside there and on the outside. And the skirt is extremely long. It's very long. Now, before I show you a twirl and some photos, I'm just gonna tell you I was out there on the grass and the bottom of the hem, around the whole hem, had bunch of like little grass things stuck on it, and they're like really sticky grass. I'm gonna put a picture here so you can see. It took me like half an hour to pick out every single tiny piece out. I was really scared of staining the fabric. Yeah, so those things happen when you photograph, and there's actually still pieces of things on the hem. Actually, I thought I'd remove them all, but there's still some there, look. How silly is that? Anyway, I've got to be careful and take these off. I swore I'd finished taking them out, but there's still some there. How annoying. Okay, I love this skirt. The Maxis are making a return for me. At this stage, I am willing to try Maxi skirts. I'm still not willing to wrap my whole body in the same fabric with a Maxi dress. I think that would be just way out of my comfort zone. I just can't do that. And I haven't worn or made Maxi skirts since I was about 20, so 20 whole years ago. It's not that easy to make a change in style, and yeah, I've got to make the skirt really fun, and I have worn it today. I went out, I wore it, I felt like a queen walking around, swishing around with my skirt. Here you can see the pockets up close. They have a good depth. I'm not going to put things in there, they're just for visual purposes. I think they look really cool. There is my waistband, stripe craziness on the sides there. Cool. And now far away you can see the length, like my yellow shoes. I love yellow and navy. Stripe matching on the side, different seams in the middle. Yeah, I just love this skirt and how swishy it is. It's my Stripy Maxi of dreams. Far away, just trying to like swish the heck out of this skirt. It's so cool. I think it makes me look even taller, and that is the whole point of sewing, 'cause, you know, I just love it. It's so cool. I had every intention of making a shorter knee length version, but I didn't have the time. I have an idea though. You know the pocket pieces, there's 2 for each, right? Let me put this there. 2 pocket pieces and they don't reach the middle, they sort of stop there. What if I made a big pocket piece to go on the back and the pocket bag, so that it's a whole piece that reaches the whole front of the skirt, and then it turns out to be like control panel. You know, you can put mesh inside the waistband, you know, to help with support there, but this is what I'm talking about. These pockets, it's 2 separate pockets, so there's an area in the middle where there's no pocket, right? So if there was just one whole piece to go all the way across, both pattern pieces just turn into one big one, just extend, you know. So I had that idea. It's similar to what the duet trousers have from Love Notions as well. So I think the next skirt I make out of these, I'm gonna do that. And when I do, I'm gonna show you that. I'm just annoyed I didn't think of doing that before with this skirt. But you know, ideas just come when they come, and they don't come when you want them. Sometimes they come afterwards, after the fact. This is a Feature Friday pattern for today, Friday. It is only $5, and you can purchase this pattern if you like it with my affiliate link in the description box. When you purchase a pattern with that link, I receive a small commission from that sale, and that helps me and everything I have to invest in this channel to bring you all this content. So thank you if you buy the pattern. That is what I wanted to share today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon with another sewing video. Have fun sewing. Bye.